Something could happen on this show. You never can tell.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Rock and Roll Show. I'm Pam. And?
I'm Joe. Welcome, everybody. It's great to see you. Before I introduce our next guest, please go to dickbiondifilm.com. Please like our Facebook page and join our Facebook group. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our pleasure to introduce to you stand-up comedian, actor, author, Chicago native, all-around great guy. So great to see him. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Tom Dreesen. Tom, welcome to our show. Thank you.
I'm hearing the applause coming all the way from Harvey, Illinois.
Oh my gosh! Oh, how are you doing? And how are you and the family handling this current situation going on in the world?
Well, you know, it's like anything else. It's a frame of mind. You know, my kids know that I'm a motivational speaker. Aside from I'm a stand-up comedian first, last, and always. But I give motivational talks on 4 subjects: perception, visualization, self-talk, and develop a sense of humor. And I elaborate on those 4 points. But one of the perception is, the first part is that all of life is about perception, is how you perceive it. You know, and so you can perceive this as a blessing or a curse, this COVID situation that we're all going through. And I give a short analogy to my motivation classes. I'll say a little boy goes in the backyard with a bat and a ball. And he said, I'm the greatest hitter in the world. And he throws a ball up in the air and he swings and he misses. He said, I'm the greatest hitter in the world. He throws it up the second time and he swings and he misses. He said, I am the greatest hitter in the world. He throws it up the third time, he swings and he misses. He said, I'm the greatest pitcher in the world. Nothing changed with his perception. So this COVID thing, we can say, you know what, let me tell you what's good about this. I'll just throw some things out. You know what? I've always loved my family and my friends, but when this is over, I'm going to love them so much more and appreciate them so much more. Or you say, you know, I love to hug my children or my grandchildren or my wife, my husband. I love to hug them, but when this is over, I'm going to really appreciate that hug from my friends that I haven't seen for a long time and things like that. So maybe it's a blessing in disguise in some ways. Not to those, of course, who were afflicted by it or passed away from it, but you know, sometimes that what seems like a bump in the road is really just something that elevates you to the next level, you know. So it's all on how you perceive it. And so a long answer to a very short question, Joey. I'm doing well, and I'm trying to keep my children, you know, positive and my friends and family as well.
Oh, that's terrific. That's terrific. Before we talk about your illustrious career, Pam and I want to talk to you about Dick Biondi. When you think of Dick Biondi, what comes to your mind? What are your thoughts on Dick Biondi?
First of all, you know, I love Dick. But my childhood, before I was ever in show business, I listened to Dick Biondi. Didn't everybody listen to Dick Biondi? He played the music that we wanted to hear. And if you were a singing artist, which I wasn't, but if he played one of your records, buddy, you were on your way. So Dick was really, he was part of my youth. And I listened to him all the time. And then, you know, I ended up going in the service, coming out of the service, and still listening to Dick Biondi. And then when I went into show business, Dick emceed one of the first shows that I ever did with Tim Reed. And a funny story, Dick was the master of ceremonies, and it was at a Southside club. And Tim Reed and I were America's first black and white comedy team. History shows we were the last. And so Dick introduces us to the crowd, and we had only 20 minutes. And they told us we had to do 2 shows that night. So we only had 20 minutes, and Tim and I went out and did our best 20 minutes. That's all we had, and it did real good. And now Dick comes backstage, and we're getting ready to do the second show. And Dick said, "Good show, you guys." He said, "I'll introduce you in the second show." And I said, "It's a new audience, right?" He said, "Oh no, same people." I said, "Whoa, wait, same people?" He said, "Yeah, same people." I said, "No, it can't be the same." He said, "Well, it is. No one left." I said, we only have 20 minutes and we already did that, Now, Tim and I had to go out there and do the same 20 minutes. People were shouting out our punchlines.
Oh my gosh.
You told that one before. We heard that. Oh, God.
Oh my God. That's great.
And then through the years, of course, as a comedian, I would call Dick sometimes and he'd put me on the air. He was Chicago, Dick, and I'll babble forever if you let me do it. But there are certain people in Chicago that are revered in Chicago. I'll tell you the names: Harry Carey, Jim McMahon, Mike Ditka, Dick Biondi, and by the way, your father, Dennis Farina. Because what you see is what you get. There wasn't two of them. You know what I mean? There wasn't two of them. The same Mike Ditka you see on stage is off stage. They were the same. And Dick Biondi was that way. It wasn't like, I have a radio personality, but if I'm in public, I'm a different guy. Dick was the same guy. He was a guy from the neighborhood, and you felt that when you listened to him,
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable. I couldn't, right, Pam? I really couldn't paint a better picture.
Well, I just want to say, Tom was interviewed for the Dick Biondi documentary, and we got some wonderful, wonderful sound bites. You can imagine when you hear Tom talk, he just these things roll right off of him, like all this wisdom. And actually, the final scene in the movie is Tom voicing it over. He said, "Let me think about this," and he came out with this wonderful, wonderful thing. And we're using it, Tom. So I want to thank you for that. It was just fantastic. I'm not going to give it away. But
I forgot,
I'm sure you did, but it was just perfect. And
the sadness of that, sometimes comedians, when you're on stage, you get a stream of consciousness going, and you go with it. A good comedian, a good actor, they aren't afraid to risk. You can't be afraid to fail. Robin Williams was a genius at that. He would go off into an area. He didn't have any material there, but he would find something there. But some nights I've gone off on a riff and got big laughs. And then later on, I forgot, what was that thing I did? I didn't record it. Now you're laying in bed at night. Damn it, what was that? But because you just followed your stream of consciousness,
Sure.
That's amazing. Yeah. Tom, tell us about your new book. Tell the audience about the new book and how that came about. I mean, it's your history in show business and stand-up comedy, and your connection with one of the, if not the greatest entertainer of all time. Tell us more about your book.
Well, I don't think they can see it because it's hard to do this. But anyhow, this is my new book. It's hard to do with the image, in fact, when it's called Still Standing, My Journey from Streets and Saloons to the Stage and Sinatra. And I could probably sum it up. I'll try to sum it up shortly, but I had 8 brothers and sisters. We lived in a shack in Harvey. We had no bathtub and no shower. We were raggedy poor. I had holes in my shoes as big around as a coffee cup my whole childhood. If you had a hole in your shoe, you put cardboard in there, The shack I lived in, if a window broke, you stuck a rag in there, And I say we had no bathtub and no shower, no hot water. And a raggedy poor. None of this do I regret. I shined shoes in taverns. I set pins in bowling alleys. I caddied in the summertime. I sold newspapers on the corner, all to help feed my brothers and sisters. And none of this do I regret. And that's what the book is about. If I could sum it up shortly, if you can envision a little boy carrying his shoe shine box through the snow to tavern after tavern after tavern, shining shoes to make some money to feed his brothers and sisters. And while he's in these taverns, on the jukebox is Frank Sinatra singing. And that little boy in Harvey, Illinois, flash forward to the end of his life, where he's carrying Frank Sinatra's coffin out of a church in Beverly Hills, California. So it's a journey from that little boy hearing Frank Sinatra on the jukebox in Harvey, Illinois, to one day carrying his coffin out of a church in Beverly Hills, California. But it's all the things that happen in between there. And why it's called Still Standing is because I've been a stand-up comedian for 50 years now. But I was knocked down a lot in my life. I mean, physically knocked down, and that's in the book, and literally knocked down as well. But I kept getting back up, and I kept getting back up. And that's what the story's about. And to the last chapter, where a very dramatic thing happened to me, and I'm still standing. You know, so it's and it's got fun stories in it, poignant stories in it, of all the people I met, the places I've been. You know,
you're still positive. You've got that great positive outlook. You know?
Positive outlook, overcoming a lot, keeping it, keeping an optimistic perspective. I mean, even during this pandemic, when you were talking about it just a few minutes ago during this interview, finding positive ways to look at it and to get through it. And I had the honor of seeing Tom several times over the years. The first time I saw Tom perform was when you opened for Frank Sinatra. It was in the early '90s, and your set was great. Sinatra was great. And how did you end up connecting with Frank Sinatra and working with him all those years?
Well, I was looking for a singer to close my show, and he was. I'd be talking to Frank somewhere at a cocktail party, and somebody would come up to me and say, "How long have you been opening for Frank Sinatra?" I said, "He closes for me." Frank would laugh. I mean, Frank was such a good sport. He'd go, "Yeah, I close the show for him." I said, but anyhow, the way it happened was being glib at the right time. I had toured with Sammy Davis for years, and now I was touring with Smokey Robinson around the country. And I was in Lake Tahoe, appearing at Caesars in Lake Tahoe with Smokey Robinson. And Frank Sinatra was appearing next door at Harrah's Hotel. And Harrah's, if you've ever been to Lake Tahoe, there's a casino in between Harrah's and Caesars Lake Tahoe. So after my show one night, they show you how fate is in life. I've appeared there for 1 week. I could have went any night to see Frank's show. For some reason, I chose this particular night. And I came off stage at Caesars, and I didn't even change out of my stage clothes. And I ran as fast as I could over to Harrah's Hotel. I'd already called them and said I was coming over, and the maitre d' had a spot for me because I wanted to see Frank Sinatra. I was a fan, and I'd seen Frank perform a couple times, and he created more excitement walking out to the microphone than most people create with their whole act. He wouldn't sing a note yet, and when he walked out, the place would go wild. As you know, Joey, you've seen it.
Oh, yeah.
But now I'm rushing over there, and as I'm running into the showroom, the vice president of Harrah's Hotel, a man named Holmes Hendrickson, saw me, and he was talking to a big heavyset guy with a cigar. And he called me. He said, "Tommy, come here." And I reluctantly went over because I didn't want to miss Frank's opening. But I go over, and he said, "Tommy, this is Mickey Rudin." Well, I recognized the name. That was Frank Sinatra's lawyer and a very powerful guy in our business. And he said, "Mickey, this is Tom Dreesen. And I think Tom would make a great opening act for Frank Sinatra." And the lawyer got a pained expression on his face like he heard that a million times. And he winked at the vice president, but I caught the wink. And he looked at me. He said, "Hey, kid, if I gave you a week with Frank, would you want more than 50,000? I said, "Mr. Rudin, put it this way. If you gave me a week with Frank, would you want more than 50,000? He said, "I like this kid." And he started laughing. And a week later, they offered me a week with Frank Sinatra at the Golden Nugget in Atlantic City. And I thought, yeah, I'll go work with him and I'll get a picture taken with him and hang at every bar back in Chicago. And that's it. But on the second night I was with him, he and his wife, Barbara, took me out to dinner. And I can remember like it was yesterday, he set his knife and his fork down, and I was sitting across from him. He said, "I like your material and I like your style. I'd like you to do a few other dates with me if you're interested." And I didn't say, "Let me check my calendar." I said, yeah. And it turned into almost 14 years, 45, 50 cities, and all over the country, staying at his home 6 times a year. And he was he was the boss at first of the tour. Then he later became like a buddy of mine. And then at the end of his life, he was like a father to me. And it's a friendship that I'll treasure till I'm not breathing anymore. I miss him every day of my life, like I miss your dad, Joey.
Wow.
Wow. Thanks.
By the way, I introduced your dad to Frank.
Really? Okay.
I took him backstage to meet Frank, and your dad was nervous. Your dad is that person. He meeting Frank Sinatra.
Oh yeah, that was Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin. In terms of music heroes or entertainer heroes, those were the two guys that my dad my dad loved, and he really did. And I appreciate your kind words about my dad too, Tom. I know you guys were close friends, and you really helped each other out along the way. And not to get morbid or down or anything. I just can't, I can't believe it's been 7 years already. But as time goes on, and I'm able to connect with people like you, I hear new stories, fresh stories, and it's like his name resonates even more and more and more. And so I appreciate you remembering him that way.
I love him like he was like a brother to me. We talked on the phone all the time. We hung out together. When we'd hang out together, sometimes Joe Mantegna's got a place called he had a place called Taste Chicago out here in Burbank, and on Hollywood Way. And if we went there, think about this: we'd sit at a table, Chicago guys, Gary Sinise, Dennis Franz, Dennis Farina, William Peterson, Joe Mantegna, and me. Now, to show you how wonderful Chicago guys are, that if somebody were to interrupt, like we're out in front of Joey's place having some beef sandwiches and talking about Chicago, of course, and if a guy walked up, or a man and woman walked up from Idaho or from wherever and said to Dennis Franz or Dennis Farina, whatever, said, "Excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I love your show," and Chicago guys would get up and say, "Oh," like Dennis Franz would say, "Oh, that's so nice of you. This is my friend Dennis Farina, and this is Tom Dreesen, and this is Molly and Harold from Idaho." And everybody is polite. New York actors say, "Come on, we're eating here, huh? You want to leave us alone? We're eating here." Chicago guys are not like that. And I'll tell you another quick story. Oh. Joe Ahern from Chicago called me one time. I was getting my hair cut out here in Sherman Oaks. He called me and said, I need to talk to you. I want you to do a PSA, public service announcement for the Chicago police, for the 100 Club. Whenever a policeman or first responder is killed in the line of duty, that they would give money to the family, right? And so I said, "Joe, I'm getting my hair cut. I'll call you back in an hour." And this is the God's honest truth. In 1 hour, I called Joe. And I said, "Joe, I got Dennis Farina, Dennis Franz, I got William Peterson, I got Gary Sinise, and Joe Mantegna. They all will do it. And Joe Mantegna is offering the studio next to Criminal Minds to shoot it in." Now, my point is, I called every one of those guys. Not one of those guys said, "Call my agent, call my manager, I'll let you know." Each guy said, "I'm in, I'm in, I'm in, I'm in." Your dad drove all the way from Phoenix, Arizona, out here. Gary Sinise was doing a thing in Dallas, Texas, flew in that morning. Dennis Franz came in from Idaho, where he's retired out there. And me, Peterson, and Joe Mantegna were all here. But in 1 week, we shot that thing. It won an Emmy, by the way. The Emmy about the 100 Club. But I'm just saying, that's what Chicago guys are like, and your dad, I never saw you. I saw people want his autograph, want your picture taken with him, and especially when we went back home to Chicago, not once. I never heard him ever say no, "Oh, come on, we're eating here," or "Can I talk to you later?" We'd stand up and be polite. He just was, again, he's Chicago. And by the way, every one of those guys played a policeman that did the PSA. I played a police officer. I played the chief of police in a movie. The other guys, Sinise and Mantegna, they played policemen. And your dad was a policeman.
Yeah. That organization and that cause was really near and dear to him. And considering all the years he was on the police force, and I can't even imagine the stories that he witnessed along the way, and that's how Joe Ahern, whom I know as well, and just to be a part of that was just something. And I remember that PSA, and it was pretty amazing. It was pretty powerful, pretty amazing, and still to this day, it still holds so much ground and so much power. The message is so powerful. It was just amazing. And you touched on something regarding people from Chicago, and Pam and I have talked about this too with other guests that we've had on. There's just something about whether you're an entertainer, an actor, comedian, so forth, something about the Chicago community that I don't know what you call it, but they seem to be just very down to earth, level headed. They never forgot where they came from. very personable, very just welcoming to people, and
Real people.
yeah, real people, down to earth. Yeah, exactly, Pam. The real deal. They never really, at the core, you could tell that they never really forgot where they came from, despite all of the success they've had. And I get that sense from, I've always got that sense from you. And when all you guys got together, I mean, it was like, just a group of guys getting together from the neighborhood, hanging out and busting each other's chops and just having a good time.
Yeah, I hated those nights to end sometimes. We actually would do it sometimes. Well, Frank Sinatra never went to bed till the sun came up, whether we were on the road or off the road. He was nocturnal. So whether we're on the road, he stayed till dawn. So, and Chicago people, we're hangout people to begin with. We love to hang out. And we'd sit there and tell stories till the sun came up. And like you say, your dad was great. Italians call it busting onions. Your dad was the best at busting onions.
Oh, gosh.
He could bust
yeah. I know what that's like, yes. And if we ever gave it back to him, he would just give us that look, with the mustache.
You're funny.
Oh, okay. All right, Dad, we'll stop. All right.
You know what, though? I'll tell you something interesting that a lot of people won't know, but I had to go back and do it. I put together a show with Commander Argenbright, Tom Argenbright, at the time. A show they put a memorial where police officers who were killed in the line of duty. I think in Chicago, over 500 now have been killed in the line of duty, and people, they would bury them in different parts of the city, but they wanted to build a memorial in Soldier Field of all of them. So there'd be a plaque there with a picture, and that way it was a garden and everything. And so you could go there one place for all of the police officers. So they needed to raise some money for that. And I put together a show, and I brought back Dennis from Styx.
Dennis
DeYoung, and I brought back Peter Cetera, and I brought back Gary Sinise and his band, the Lieutenant Dan Band, and I did stand-up comedy, and we just had different acts. But I brought back stars, Vince. My mind's going 100 miles an hour. I brought back your dad, and I brought back Dennis Franz and Joe Mantegna and Gary Sinise, all those guys, and each one came out and said a few words. But your dad said something that night. It was all to raise money for the fallen police officer. Your dad said something that I'll never forget. When he came out, he said, of all the things that I do in show business, no matter where I go, no matter what film I'm in, no matter what acting role, whatever, he said, in my heart, I'll always be a Chicago cop. Mm-hmm. And it really just, that moment, it just electrified that audience, because he was being so honest and so candid, saying that in my heart, that's who I'll always be, no matter what I do in show business. And I so identify with that wherever I go, flying in Frank Sinatra's jet, appearing in 40,000 seat in Hawaii, opening for Frank Sinatra, appearing all over the country with him, the Tonight shows, all the things that I've done in my career, that if I close my eyes, I see a little boy with his shoe shine box trudging through the snow, shining shoes in Harvey, Illinois. So when people say we never forgot where we came from, I think that's something that resonates with Chicago people, Midwest people, more than anything, that child in them that doesn't leave them, that no matter where you go, that you still are that little boy back in that little girl, Pamela, back in Chicago.
You got it.
School, yeah.
That's why I'm making this movie for Dick, because he touched me so deeply when I was a kid. I was 13 years old when I met him. And he was so kind, and I just couldn't get over it, because here he is, this big famous disc jockey. I didn't expect that, but when I met him, I was just like, wow, this guy is really special. And I started a fan club for him. That's how I got to know him so well. And, but yeah, I'm still that little kid. This whole movie has just brought me back to the 60s, and I'm reliving my whole life, and it's been wild. And you're absolutely right. We're just all children inside, We're still those kids.
I always say, I can tell people on the West Coast, I can tell who's from Chicago. But I always say in Chicago, when someone says, good morning, how are you? What they really mean is, good morning, how are you? If you go to California and you say, good morning, how are you? They go, what did you mean by that? What does that mean? If you go to New York.
Different context, yeah.
In New York, if you say, good morning, how are you? It means, how long are you going to be away from your car?
Oh, boy.
Oh my God, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's just something about that community. And,
Oh my gosh, you guys.
It's a time already? Oh my gosh, where does time go?
I don't know. Holy cow.
Oh,
See, we're hanging out.
Tom,
we're hanging out, just talking. Exactly, you got it. You're hanging out, you lose track of time.
Where can people get your book, Tom? Because that looks.
Yes, tell us about that.
I was almost in tears hearing that story.
Yeah,
I mean, that
amazing.
is a heart tugger.
It's Amazon.com. You can go to Amazon.com or the Barnes & Noble too. You can go to either one of those websites or Amazon.com. It's getting great reviews. And by the way, because Chicago, but a lot of Chicago people are buying it, really buying, because it's about that city and about growing up there and struggling in the business there and all the things that go with that,
And it's called Still Standing.
Still Standing. And then the subtitle is My Journey from Streets and Saloons to the Stage and Sinatra.
Wonderful.
What a story.
Wonderful. And Tom, you have a website as well?
Yeah, you can go to tomdreesen.com. And people always spell my name wrong, even though I've been in the show business 50 years. What an impact I made on them. But it's Dreesen, so it's 3 E's. There's 1 S. Most people always put DRESSEN. They put that second S, but it's DREESEN.com. And you can find out anything you want to know there. And I think you can even order the book on there, I think,
Okay.
Oh, that's great.
Wonderful.
Tom, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's really fun talking to you. I can't wait. I'm going to get your book. Will you sign it for me?
Oh, are you kidding me? Yeah, of course. I'll fly in. Let's see, first class airfare is $2,750. I'll fly in and put myself up at the Ambassador East. That's another $700-800. Yeah, sure. Yeah. No,
count me in too. I'd love a copy as well. I mean, and I Pam and I want to thank you so much for joining us and talking about your career and about your book, just bringing up some incredible memories. And these memories, they really ring true, and especially at a time like this, it kind of makes you reflect a little bit more and kind of appreciate what you have. And, we certainly had a chance to talk about it. And I know your book talks about that. And our film really connects with that audience from, growing up, listening to Dick Biondi and bringing back those awesome memories of childhood. And personally, Tom, it was great seeing you. It's been a while since I've had the chance to see you. But thank you so much for doing this, and hopefully we could stay in touch. And we both wish you the very best, as well as your family.
Okay, thank you, Joey, and I hope your daddy's looking down on us right now.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, probably having a beef sandwich.
Yeah.
And just got a big smile on his face, and just
yeah. When we go off the air, I want to tell you a personal story. We're probably out of time now.
Yeah, we are. Thank you.
Okay,
so
sounds
much.
good. Thank you. I gotta go.
You're gonna go? Okay.
Yeah, Pam. Pam is gonna do the
little promo
with you, but. Before I let you go, real quick, everybody, dickbiondifilm.com, like our Facebook page and join our Facebook group, and to access wonderful, wonderful interviews with people like the great Tom Dreesen. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Tom. Bye now.
Take care, buddy.
Well, thanks, everybody, for watching. It's really been fun talking to Tom Dreesen. Thank you, Tom, so much. And everybody be safe out there, okay? We'll see you next time.